Hey everybody, welcome back to Giant Talk, the world's first OKR podcast. Really pleased to have you joining us again from wherever you happen to be in lockdown. I think this is the 6th or 7th podcast now when we're recording from lockdown. I hope you're staying safe and well. Really delighted to have Pieter joining me from Rapid Deploy for this week's podcast. Pieter, welcome to Giant Talk.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Fantastic. And you're calling in from South Africa, I believe.
Yes, Cape Town, South Africa.
Very nice. It's a nice place to be in lockdown, I imagine. At least you've got some decent weather over there.
Exactly. You're not getting to experience the winelands and the beaches, but at least get to look out the window to some good weather.
Yeah, you can't have everything, right?
No.
So we're going to be chatting today about OKRs, obviously, but specifically around the need for internal champions or ambassadors or OKR coaches, whatever you talk, however you label them, but really about that person or persons inside the business that's going to become the OKR guru, the OKR expert, and drive it forward for you and your company. But first, Pieter, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and who Rapid Deploy are and what they do.
Sure. So my background is started out in kind of electronic design, in embedded system design, and writing a little bit of that software, and then really working in production line environments, a lot of automation, robotics. Started getting an interest into how those systems were being integrated to kind of more of the traditional software ERP systems. Started layering on top of that, and then got an opportunity to go and study computer science as well. Took that, circled back into the robotics fields. Eventually had enough of that, and then kind of took the move to Cape Town, got involved in more commercial software, payments processing, and then kind of really ended my technical career and pivoted it into project management, Scrum Master, kind of more agile way of working. So really discovered a passion for agility and working with teams to achieve some cool stuff through Scrum, Kanban. And then about 6 weeks ago now, I believe I joined Rapid Deploy, a really amazing company, doing good work in the public safety space, specifically really disrupting the 911 kind of need out there and shifting away from old dinosaur big infrastructure kind of on-prem solutions into what we call cloud-aided dispatch versus computer-aided or dispatch.
Right. That sounds really interesting. I mean, we were talking just before we started recording that there are a lot of telecoms, tech, startup software companies happening out there. This is the first one certainly that I've come across this disrupting the space of 911 dispatch.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really great work. Super passionate people. A lot of paramedics, police kind of knowledge internally. So really right. Amazing privilege to work with such passionate people and doing it with great tech. So really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect combination, isn't it, really, when you've got the passionate people and the fantastic tech. That seems to be when companies really start to hit a winner.
Absolutely.
So what's your role with Rapid Deploy then? I know you've only been in the role about 6 weeks, but yeah. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so I'm kind of fitting into the as titles go into the engineering manager role, but right now really just assisting with helping the agile processes scale, and really focusing on kind of coaching the people into that agility thinking. And this is more in terms of Scrum and software delivery, and then hopefully that role will evolve into coaching kind of the broader agile concepts and really helping the teams navigate that rapid growth as well.
Awesome. And you had to onboard with them during lockdown, did you?
Yes, my first day was remote. It was quite an interesting experience. I'm kind of enjoying challenging the paradigms of don't do agile stuff remotely. It's must be in the room, must be co-located. We don't have a choice right now, so that challenge has been really, really interesting and obviously made easier by great teams.
Absolutely. It's funny how many people before COVID struck saying, it's impossible to do these things remotely. We can't have flexible working. blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And now suddenly they're forced to do it. And they're coming up with amazing initiative ways of doing it,
Exactly. I've been just being in touch with friends and previous colleagues. I've been absolutely amazed at the innovation that's being forced right now, and also seeing small businesses pivot into areas they've never been in. It's quite interesting observing all of that.
Absolutely. So when did you first come across OKRs then, Pieter?
Yeah, at my previous company, I got handed a book. I think it's quite the famous book, Measure What Matters. And
sure.
Yeah, when I first saw the title, I kind of rolled my eyes a bit. And then one night started reading through, and it really just, it really echoed with me being into Scrum and Kanban and the concepts of trusting teams to kind of set their own goals and guiding them to an objective, which is really what agile software delivery is all about. It really, it struck a chord with me on how to use that at a strategic level and really help guide kind of bigger groups and that journey for teams that were growing. So it became quite passionate about it after reading the book.
Yeah, that's really interesting, that analogy you make there, because at There Be Giants, that's one of the ways we describe OKRs, is taking that agile mindset and approach from software development and applying it to the business as a whole and processes throughout the business.
Yeah, and that's why I like it so much, because I've been doing software development and Scrum thinking so long. When I read it, it just snapped in the kind of strategic level, and really a lot of those concepts and a lot of the culture around it was that appealed to me in the software sense is obviously reflective in OKRs.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're obviously a massive fan of OKRs then. I understand you even use them in your personal life.
Yeah, I've nerded out on them that much. So earlier this year, as one does in January with New Year's resolutions, I didn't set the traditional I want to go to gym more. And I really looked at maybe using one or two OKRs to set those really key objectives for my personal life for the year. And having had my daughter last year, kind of shifted the thinking from going to gym more or eating healthier into setting that objective of being a healthy dad, and then kind of tying key results to that about whatever you want it to be. If it's too personal, I'm happy to share, but getting my cholesterol level under control or losing weight, really kind of tying that together. And so far it's working. My objective is still being a healthy dad. I obviously can't go to gym a lot, but I've pivoted onto kind of healthier eating habits and that sort of stuff. So that's how I've incorporated into my personal life and into some of my hobbies as well.
And do you find that it's easier to keep up with it than, say, your traditional New Year's resolutions?
I think so. I did kind of challenge my wife to that she act as someone that holds me accountable. So every now and then she would call me out and go, "Hey, how's your gym OKR doing?" And it kind of forced me to discuss my results. So
as you were tucking into the chocolate cake, she'd say that. Right?
Exactly. She's not being too subtle about it, but it is helping have that person kind of keeping me accountable, and I think just framing it around the objective, that feel good, get out of bed thing has really helped me quite a lot.
I've got to say, I think that's awesome. And we did actually record a whole podcast on this subject with a lady called Melanie Vessels back in season 2 of the podcast. And I think it's such a good idea. I mean, for me, it just makes sense. There's like getting fit and weight loss and exercise and things like that, as you say, are pretty much the clearest examples of OKRs that you can think of. And actually, for people out there who want their teams to get used to using OKRs perhaps before introducing them in the business, encourage people to set some personal ones, and actually it helps them understand the concepts before you launch them as a business and get really into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. Really, I think one of the key hurdles to overcome it at first with this thinking is understanding key results and understanding your data points. So what are you looking at to improve? And and really when you start doing something, what do you want to see change? And that's it sounds really simple, but that's quite an interesting mindset to conquer.
Koan is a purpose-built solution for managing your OKRs, helping your teams achieve their objectives, getting them aligned, and absolutely helping them stay engaged. Sharing spreadsheets simply doesn't scale when you're trying to grow a business. With Koan, you can scale OKRs across your entire company whilst keeping the teams motivated and moving in the right direction. Now, Lawrence, there's lots of things we love about Koan, but tell me one of yours.
So I've got to say, one of my favourite things is that Koan just allows you to have a bit of fun with the OKR process.
Yeah.
In series 2, I think it was episode 3 of this podcast, we actually spent about half an hour, 40 minutes talking about the importance of making OKRs fun for your team.
Yeah.
And Koan allows you to do that perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, even just things like adding a GIF to your reflections, add some real personality. And I think I probably waste far too much time each week looking for the perfect GIF, to be honest. But it allows that fun throughout the organisation, and that's something that's really important if you're going to keep people engaged.
You are known for having the best GIFs
Thank you very much.
In the team, definitely. So if you would like to find out more about how to make OKRs fun whilst using a great system, then pop along to Koan, that's KOAN.co/giants, where you'll find also a great paper that we co-wrote with them on how to build accountability and collaboration using OKRs.
So bringing it back to the subject then that we kind of said we were going to kick off on, which is the need for an internal champion. I believe you kind of held this role at your last organisation, is that right?
That's correct. So that was the OKR ambassador, yes.
So what did that involve for you then?
It was really, if you distill it down into a one-liner, that would be really good facilitation. So we were using a software platform to help us track our OKRs. Cool. So really working with everyone involved to make sure that they were kind of updating those key results, closing off the initiatives or actions underneath that, and then the kind of every 2 weeks having that check-in on where are we, where is the needle moving, not moving, what's blocking us, is this OKR still working, do we need to drop it? So really asking those kind of key questions. And obviously the challenge that there can be pretty senior people in the room that are accountable also and participating. So really honing in on your facilitation skills to really push those through and make sure that progress and just the habits are kept up.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, do you think the OKRs would have been so successful in that organization without somebody in that role?
I don't. Generally speaking, I think it is a key role. So not specific to any organization. I think if you're going to spend in effort and invest in a software platform and training and make space to have these check-ins, and no one's going to be there and empowered to drive them, I think it's going to really stall and it's going to become a to-do list again ultimately, and you're going to lose the magic of them.
I completely agree. You will end up with that to-do list of tasks in your key results instead of nice, sharp, outcome-focused key results.
Exactly.
Just somebody with that bit of accountability over the organization as well, just to be able to help people out, makes such a big difference. And you mentioned there as well that making sure regular habits and conversations were taking place. Is that part of the role?
Yeah. So exactly that. And funny enough, it's one of the challenges we were facing. Like some of the smartest people in the room, really capable, also busiest. And a key lesson we learned there was, let's not, if you've got a 2-hour slot allocated to checking in, let's really focus on needles that weren't moving, quickly coordinate on how we can unblock those. If something was going into the green, good, document those learnings, and then kind of trending towards the end of sticking to an hour of doing that, and then an hour while everyone was there, had their calendar booked, really going, what can you, as the top performers, have the highly capable people working on this, achieve now in this hour? What can you schedule? What can you coordinate? And really use that as a key area to kind of agree on commitments for the next week or two.
Fantastic. And what's your opinion, Pieter, on whether OKRs should be used just department by department or slightly more collaboratively across teams?
Yeah, so that was one of my key learnings and really an interesting area we explored. My opinion through that year journey right now is I think they really shine when you look for if you look for work flowing across departmental boundaries, let's say from dev to QA in my world, which is quite common, if there's something to improve or something to really innovate, that boundary flowing from department to department, I think those are really ideal in OKRs. I think a key lesson for me on my OKR journey is doing it the first time, setting it up, having these big overarching goals, key results well known and well understood. I would be very careful for each department to set their own goals that align with the overarching objective. It's theoretically right, but what I saw, the symptom was that, again, it becomes just that department's goals and just they are working towards it. The collaboration and the growth and that kind of coordination and teamwork needed across those departmental boundaries, I think that's where the magic really happens.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So how did you encourage them to become more collaborative then?
We looked at, we didn't quite get there at the end because it was kind of different time pressures came in. I started exiting that organization. Sure. But if I look at towards the end, things we were starting to discuss is one of the most successful OKRs I worked on was recruitment. As a dev manager at the time, being responsible for filling roles, we were struggling to fill a certain profile of role, and really then where the magic happened was getting finance involved, marketing, HR, and really starting to pick the different skill sets and how do we solve this problem. And what came out of that was really incredibly innovative solutions. So to motivate that, it's hard to motivate a team that hasn't really seen how well it can work when different departments have a single goal. So I would advise is look for that single goal, get different departments involved, and have them co-create that objective and those key results. I think try and experiment on that.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Certainly when we're facilitating sessions, we try and have as many of the functions involved as possible, and we actually use a bit of a heat map exercise to discover which of the departments and which of the functions are going to need to have the highest contribution to the success of the objective, and then get them all together in the room to create the key results. I think it's one of the only ways to do it.
Exactly. Then it's a shared plan versus my department's objectives. Now it's our goal, Absolutely. Our objective. Yeah.
And did you then encourage conversations to take place, cross-functionally as well about the OKR?
Yes, I think that was almost really the biggest early success we had. It just really uplifted almost the quality of the conversation, because now you had in that room, as I previously said, you had really junior managers, very senior managers. It really empowered the junior manager to go, look, my key result is lagging because of this delay over in this department here. It became very factual and the conversation was much lighter, whereas previously, especially junior managers would take that as a confrontation to a senior manager almost. So it really helped uplift the kind of diplomacy and the respectfulness around conversations, which was great.
That's a really good point, because those conversations aren't about, appointing blame at all, are they? It's just about helping people realize what is going on and where the dependencies are.
Exactly. It was always so nice to, while coaching, telling some of the junior managers, it's always amazing something to have to point to and go, look here, my key result's not moving. It's linked to this action, which I'm waiting on you for, which is it's much better type of conversation to have.
Yeah, and also, the people that you are waiting for, I think without something like cross-functional OKRs, don't always realize that the delay they're causing further up the line.
Correct. That sense of transparency and showing that delay, again, just made that conversation so easy. So then it wasn't someone having to go into defensive mode. It was just really, oh gee, I see that. Yeah, let me get on that for you.
Absolutely. What are the other key lessons that you'd share that you learned when working across teams then?
It's tough. OKRs are really simple framework, and there's the saying in the agile software community, especially around Scrum. Scrum is easy, but doing Scrum is hard, and I would really say it's the same for OKRs. It's a really simple, powerful framework. But once you start it really highlights a lot of kind of probably anti-patterns or kind of really dysfunctional, to use a stronger word, areas in the business, and that's what you want to hone in on. So kind of don't blame the diagnostic tool. Be happy you found that dysfunction and start addressing that. Kind of that's the biggest learning is it's going to be tough, and that's okay. It's normal.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something really important earlier as well, which is about trusting the teams and employees to set their own OKRs. And yes, you said you need to nudge them in the right direction to work collaboratively, but does it empower them more if you trust them to set their own?
Absolutely. I think that's when you take on OKRs, really know what you're asking, and what you are asking is for you as a manager or leader to trust your employees to follow an overarching objective or set their own, and that's not going to be I think comfortable in a lot of organizations at first. The whole concept of bi-directional goal setting is you're going to have to navigate that. The training employees to call out where they are stuck respectfully. That's my biggest lesson. I think is know what you're asking for, and what you're really asking for is building a trust culture first.
Yes, I was just about to say this all comes down to culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost before make sure your culture is ready for OKRs first. I would say.
Yeah, for various reasons, and we were talking about the conversations that have to take place as well. It's all well and good everybody being happy to say that their key result is lagging and being brave enough in the meeting, but actually the culture has to be right that they're not afraid to say that the key result is lagging. There's
Correct.
No fear of failure there.
Exactly. Oh, that's an interesting, exactly that, and also, when you're in the kind of flavor of using OKRs as your moonshot, you want to encourage highly innovative thinking. You want to almost celebrate that, even though we've tried some really out there things that didn't work, but man, we learned some amazing stuff, and really coach those managers and those young leaders that's okay. You're not going to succeed at all of this stuff, but you're pushing the boundaries. And I think under the kind of moonshot concept of OKRs, that's really important to get across and right. That failure is not the end of your job.
No, it's all about the lessons you take from it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more there with you, Pieter. But again, it's a cultural mindset. If people have been used to getting shouted down for not hitting results or not hitting 100%, they're never going to set themselves an aspirational target, and they're not going to be honest if they're not on track to hit that target.
Exactly that.
And that doesn't stop the failure. It just delays the failure to further down the line, where it's going to have more catastrophic consequences.
Exactly, yeah. And then you're not adapting to what you're learning to, which is kind of a huge loss of value.
Is there anything else that you kind of learn around setting the key results in the teams or anything like that?
Yeah, I think really is be brave when setting them, and that was more personal learning. I think as a manager at the time, it really puts you out there and makes you vulnerable that you're saying I have these following hypotheses, and if those are true, these results will change. It really forces you to think quite differently in setting key results and being brave around that, and once again accepting that you might fail and those key results might not realize. So yeah, that's my personal learning is be brave and kind of practice and rehearse how you understand your domain.
Couldn't agree more. What's your take on individual OKRs then, Pieter?
Yeah, I think I've used them obviously personally, and I agree in the work context. Really powerful tool once again to make visible on what a person might be working on, and I've used it quite effectively with some of the kind of early leaders in my teams to help them navigate noise, what they were working towards. So those OKRs weren't exactly tied to any kind of company initiative or departmental OKRs, but that became such a good coaching tool to sit a young leader down and go, I know you're involved in this. There's a lot of noise. I can see you stressed, but write down what you want to achieve, and then write down the really observable baby steps you want to see that is out of your control, but you want to see happening. And that really became a really good tool to quiet down their mind, really help them achieve focus. So I'm a fan of using that individual OKR of maybe helping to navigate some complexity or reduce noise for someone in some big project they're taking on.
That's a really interesting point, actually, and it's the first time I've come across that, because individual OKRs make me a little bit nervous, I must say. I think a lot of the time they can be used. I call it creating OKRs for OKR's sake. But also there's a danger of micromanaging. When they're being sort of set by the team leader. But I think that navigating the noise with them is a really interesting point. Because I can certainly see how that would help an employee just start to guide themselves along a little bit if they're feeling under pressure.
Exactly that, and I almost a good point you raise is you don't want to. I had been accused of having an OKR hammer and seeing everything as a nail. I have to take that. But when appropriate, really, it is a good tool to use just to help with focus. And it doesn't work for everyone in every situation. But those that it did work for was really quite grateful of that and started adopting that thinking into other areas of their work, which is a huge win for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned as well about how, they might not necessarily tie directly into the sort of strategic OKRs. So they're what we would call unaligned OKRs or orphan OKRs. But that's kind of not what they're there to do, is it? They're there to help the employee navigate some uncertainty.
Exactly. And I knew that the project in question that was being worked on, that 100% tied into strategic visions of the company. 100%. I knew that. They knew that. It wasn't really necessary to go and overcomplicate it. It was really just someone that needed help and needed focus, and it did.
That's awesome to hear. It's been an awesome chat, Pete. I've really enjoyed it, and there's been a huge amount for our listeners to take away already. But if you kind of had one piece of advice that you're going to give to a company or a business leader or even just a manager that was about to get going on their OKR journey, what would that be? Yeah,
I think two pieces is get someone to help you. I think they seem simple to implement. The framework is simple, but there's a lot of nuance and a lot of complexity, like we've discussed with culture and trust. So get someone to help you establish that. I think some of the published materials say it's doing it on your own. It's about 18 months before you start getting it right. So get someone to help, and have fun with it. Enjoy the learnings. Like really focus on the learnings and building the trust with the team.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, as an OKR consultant, I couldn't agree with your first point more.
I thought you'd like that.
but yeah, absolutely. You will see an expedited process and benefits come from it. But I think it feeds into your second point as well, which also, have fun with it and enjoy the learnings, but understand going into it that you're not going to get it right first time.
No, absolutely not. It's going to be, and that's kind of a good kind of learning again is it's going to feel strained and strange and out of your depth. That's at first, and that's normal. That's what they should be doing. The more comfortable you'll get with the framework and the process, the better that will feel. But they are designed to kind of push you out of your depth a little bit, which is a key learning. So it's okay to feel that way. They're not going to necessarily snap into place and everyone's going to be this well-oiled machine. They are there to disrupt a little bit as well.
Yeah. And of course, coming back to the original point of the podcast is, get at least one, if not two or three internal OKR champions trained up.
Definitely.
I know we offer it as part of our consultancy. It's right at the core is making sure there's internal champions. But even if you do decide to go it alone, somebody that's an expert on the subject matter is vital.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good point. You're absolutely. I spent more time answering questions about OKRs and the thinking and helping build out better understood data pipelines of a process than I did facilitating. So I think that is a very good point to have that specialist and that kind of person that's passionate about it and understands them in the organization.
Yeah. Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed the chat with you as well, Lawrence.
Good. And thank you again, everyone, for listening. Please stay home, stay safe. Hope you're all not going too stir crazy with cabin fever and you're enjoying the podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, please go on to whatever platform you listen to it on and give it a 5-star rating and let us know what you think. It makes a massive difference for us. And we'll speak to you next week. If you've got anything to add, use #GiantTalk on Twitter and LinkedIn, and we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye.